Well, we met at the Institute at the University of Oregon, and it was in 1970.
1969.
1969. I usually get numbers right, but I messed up on
I
that.
was just off my mission, and I remember the first time I saw her. I was handing out programs, and she walked by, and I tracked her all the way, and I noticed the bishop, who was my good friend, who was sitting up on the stand, looked at me and looked at that and just grinned like a chussy cat. And then after church, she left. And I thought, I gotta meet this girl. And so I walked out looking for her, and she was out standing outside talking to John Lyman. So I walked up in my very shy, normal shy way, of course.
Retiring.
Shy, retiring, said, "Oh, John, who's your friend? Please introduce me." And then only a year later, I asked her out. But before I asked her out, I did tell my good friend that I was going to marry her. And he looked at me and said,
Are you crazy?
"You are crazy, man."
Well, you have to remember, you have to keep it in context that I wasn't comfortable at church. I hadn't been there all my life like most of those people, and I just was cautious and guarded. And so I wasn't thinking, I'm going to marry this guy. No.
And then that summer, it was that summer that you were Jansen Smile Girl, and I saw in the newspaper, I wrote her a letter.
Yeah.
She didn't answer.
I entered a competition because I was always looking for ways to make money to go to school. And so there was this competition called the Jansen Smile Girl Contest, and it was Jansen swimwear, and they chose one girl from each state to be a Smile Girl.
It was in the fall when they had the seminar and the meeting before school started for dorm counselors. I had applied. She was already a dorm. Weren't you already a dorm counselor?
I started at the end of my sophomore year.
And I remember...
Again, a way to make money.
I remember it was in Hamilton Hall, Hamilton Complex. I can't remember the dorm, although I could take you there. And she wore a yellow dress, and she was wearing a ring on her engagement finger, and I almost wanted to throw up. And I remember going over and saying hello to her. I don't know if she remembered me or not, but I think I introduced myself again. And I said, "Oh, what a pretty ring. Are you engaged?"
Again, shy and retiring, yes. Mm-hmm.
And?
Oh, I said, "Oh, no, I'm not engaged."
And I thought to myself, phew.
I think I thought he was very aggressive and forthcoming and not shy. And it kind of made me maybe more shy than retiring. I don't know. Well, my sister was going to have a shower, and I was scheduled to go up to where she lived in Monmouth, Oregon, to go to a shower for her. And so he asked me on a date, and I said, "Oh, I can't. I have to go up to Monmouth to my sister's shower." And then, being the problem solver that he is, he said, "Well, you can do both." And so we worked it out so I could go to my sister's shower and still go on the first date. Right?
I said, "You'll have a good time." It was to the old Golden Green Ball. They had a dance and in the ancient
quite formal.
History of the church. I remember I bought a new jacket for the Golden Green Ball, and I think you got a new dress.
I did.
You? A white dress.
Yeah. With a black sash.
You know, you were required to get a corsage. I think I got a corsage for you. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And during the dance, I said to her, I can still remember, well, you look like a Swiss Miss. And she said,
Well, actually, I am Swiss. So it was a nice dance. I don't remember anything. I don't remember like eating before. Do you remember doing anything? I just remember going to the dance.
I remember dancing close. We had, I don't remember the second, I think the second date we went to,
Paint Your Wagon.
yeah, we went to Paint Your Wagon.
That's a movie.
Where we're going, I don't know. Where am I headed? I ain't certain. All I know is I am on my way.
And then on the third date, I think we just went to Mutual, Wednesday night, and came back afterwards, and I asked her to marry me on the third date. Now that's okay because my dad asked my mother to marry him on the first date, so it's kind of
It didn't seem wrong to him or strange.
No, because that's
A little strange to me, but not to him.
that's what you did. You need to strike while the iron was hot. Besides,
I was getting ready to graduate.
this was May the 1st, 1970, and she was going to graduate the next month. I thought, I have to get on this because she's going to be gone, and I'm going to be out of luck. So
What did I said yes the first time, right? No.
you
What
didn't-
did I say?
You said, well, let me think about it.
Yeah. Well, doesn't that sound right? This may be the strangest courtship
Well,
and relationship.
and then a few days later, my roommate asked her out. I was incensed, and
I didn't
I
go
don't.
out with him. Did I? No.
No, you said I don't want to go out with him, so let's get engaged. I said, oh, great, okay. And then I remember we went hunting for rings at Ski's Jewelry.
Yeah. But the engagement ring was your mother's stone,
Yeah.
and we just chose a setting.
We were poor. I
Very
was
poor.
poor. I was very
No,
poor.
so was I.
Yeah, we came from very
Humble.
humble beginnings. Mm-hmm. My dad worked in a dairy, and her dad, she was an orphan almost. Her mother worked at a bank, and her dad had worked in a lumber mill, so we didn't have any college graduates. We didn't have any family members who had grand pianos or anything like that,
And then I graduated and went
I went
back
to graduate. We have pictures of graduation.
Yeah,
Went to
he came to my graduation.
And then I came to visit her on July the 2nd up in St. Helens, and
I gave him back the ring.
yeah, so I said to her, it doesn't matter, I'm going to marry you anyway, and that really made her angry. I had all these letters from your mother, and I had just burned them, I think, like just before May 1st. We had a fireplace on Eleanor Street where we lived, and so I just burned them all in the fireplace. And then May 1, someone said, oh, I just heard that Crawford's back in town. That was the exact, I don't know who said it, somebody we had 4 guys living in this house. And so then I knew, I didn't know if she was going to come to church the next day, but she did. First I called your mother. Your mother didn't know where you were. Then I called Judy. I don't know how I had the numbers. Then I called Judy, and she said, well, I think she's at the old apartment where she used to live. So I debated whether to try to go see you.
But your mother said,
Go see her.
go see her.
So there were cars parked behind me in the driveway, so I drove across the lawn, and I was not in a mood to wait. I was kind of, like your mother said, a little aggressive.
Oh, a little aggressive.
And I think our next date was I drove up from Eugene and we went to the zoo. Remember that? Mm-hmm. That was nice.
Driving meant at least 2.5 hours, 3 hours from Eugene to St. Helens it's about 3.
2.5, 3 hours. But we met at the zoo, I remember, in Portland.
But then this explains somewhat why my mother was so hesitant to encourage this marriage, because she'd seen all these, yes, exactly, the ups and the downs, and plus she wasn't a member of the church, and all of it was just foreign to her. And so she was not excited about the idea of us getting married.
I remember May 20, whatever Mother's Day was, she came down with
To Eugene.
to Grants Pass.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, she had warmed up considerably. I asked her again if she would marry me. I think I just said, "Will you take the ring back and we get married? Will you marry me?" And she said, "I don't remember, yes."
Oh, yes, serious praying and contemplating and trying to figure, because I analyze things. Oh, I analyze things to the nth degree. And so I just had to figure it out and know that that he was the one for me.
I never prayed about it. Only that she would say yes. In the temple, they didn't have an aisle between the men and the women, and so we sat by each other through the endowment ceremony and held hands. You can't do that today, but and then at the ceremony, I have to admit that I cried, but I said it was hay fever.
Well, and remember that I'd never been to the temple before, so I didn't know that what we were experiencing, the men and the women sitting next to each other, was not normal. And so, and it was the 4th of July weekend, obviously, July 2nd, dead at the temple. No pun intended, but it was just, there wasn't anyone there. It was very, very quiet.
There weren't many people.
I think we were the only marriage that day.
I think we've been the only marriage that day.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was, I didn't notice that there was another one.
It was exciting. It was really great. I had on a funny old dress that
You
Florence
did.
had made for me.
And funny shoes.
Yeah, well, she didn't choose the shoes, but I chose the shoes, but she made the dress. And I was transitioning. I was in a transition in my life, in my wardrobe, in my whole way of life.
Your mother was very brave to withstand all this pressure. A lot of people told her not to marry me.
Oh, yes.
Grandma Van Almen, her bishop.
Yeah.
Who else?
Oh, Mary Gardner.
Her mother. Your mother said, if you marry him, he'll just take you off to China.
Yeah, well,
Whoops.
He did.
It happened. So,
And Carolyn, Larry's sister Carolyn, wrote me a letter, and she said, "He's always wanted a maid. You marry him and you'll be his maid." And guess what? I am.
you left. He leaves his shoes in the living room. Yeah. So.
No, we were warned. Yeah, we were warned. But
We had a one-day honeymoon, and
I'd never been to California before we drove down there. We were so poor.
It's not like you kids had all this guidance and people, throwing the party for you. We threw the party ourselves. The announcement, doesn't say the parents of so-and-so announced the wedding of their daughter to the son of so-and-so. It doesn't say that. Because,
We were just faking it, just winging it. Just like I have to decide everything. It has to be methodically thought through.
everybody was arrayed against me, even Florence Whipple. The night before the wedding, she told your mother, "You don't have to marry him if you don't want to." What? What are you doing? Trying to sabotage this?
But now it's been 50 years and they were wrong and we were right.
We were.
Yeah. Just ask Brandon, Sarah, Neil, Erica, Ellen, and Alicia, and the 28 other little people.
And me.
The advice I would give is always stay close to the church and always do what is right and pray and grow. It doesn't matter where you start, it's where you end up. Grow and develop spiritually and do what is right.
Well, we have our companion prayer morning and night. Mm-hmm. And one of us, she prays in the morning and I pray at night. President Kimball said there are no soulmates. We thought when we got married, we agreed on everything.
So much alike.
We were so much alike. Well, maybe you aren't so much alike after all.
Our upbringings were quite similar in some ways.
Yeah,
but
we have the same socioeconomic lower middle class background, unlike our children or grandchildren. But I think, don't stay mad. Just let it blow over. I mean, we always got that advice. Don't let the sun set on your anger. I don't know.
I'm just tired.
Yeah, why don't you just go to sleep? And sometimes in the morning it's a lot better. So rather than stay up and argue all night to try to hash it out, you're going to disagree. Like President Hinckley said, it takes a lot of compromise, give in.
Give and take.
Yeah, sometimes you're wrong, sometimes you're right. Sometimes you're right, but say you're wrong. We're married because I stuck to what I wanted.
That's right. I think that's more important than the dining room table.
So, but the old saying, "A faint heart never won a fair lady," is pretty true. I figured when I was chasing your mother, your grandmother, that at least I would be around so much and make my presence so obvious that she would never forget me. Even if she rejected me, I would be part of her memory. So
you are unforgettable. A marriage can last 50 years if you decide it's going to. You have to stick to it. You have to say, I don't want to be with anyone else. Everyone's going to have differences, so you work through the differences. You say, okay, maybe that isn't what I want now, but I'll compromise.
Well, I cannot say that I never slept on the couch. Because I have a few times, but not recently. We kind of, you have your disagreements. The fact of the matter is, who was it said that most putts don't sink? Most people are just average. Most people aren't wealthy. Most people are just average people with average problems. Whatever you experience is not unique. We all have about the same concerns, I think, in life, and you just have to stick to it.
Yeah.
I think look to your forebears.
Your parents were such a good example of people who stuck it out even though they were very different from each other.
And they had far more serious problems than any of you. I think of my own grandparents, who they were loyal and true and poor for the most part, but they enjoyed each other and stuck it out. So take the long view. I can, looking 50 years past, it goes pretty fast.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like 50 years. It seems more like
30,
49,
20.
49. No, it seems like 25 years. So you just have to overlook. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has flaws, but you love people in spite of those things. And sometimes those little idiosyncrasies over time become endearing. Things that maybe irritated you at one time actually become things that you fall in love with, which is kind of remarkable phenomenon. So you have to take the long view and think about your future. If you if you break things up, you cut off your roots and your branches, and the time will eventually come that you regret that. I don't think I've ever talked to anybody, and I've done some divorces. I think talking to some old people who may have been married more than once, I think a lot of them say, probably I
Should have stuck with that first one.
Should have stuck with the first one. I've been better off. And so that's what we've done.
Yes.
I'm still dancing with the one I brought to the dance. I'm sorry. If I could give advice to myself 50 years ago.
You wouldn't change a thing.
Not much.
No.
I wouldn't change much. Maybe the only thing I would do is, now we have Come Follow Me, and we read the scriptures more together and study more together. And I suppose if I had to do it over again, we'd do more of that. But other than that, we did read the Book of Mormon together. It took about 6 or 8 years to get through it, but
with the kids.
Kids, but we did do it. So I don't think I'd change very much.
I know what I'd change. I would choose to have been born in a family that were active members of the church, and been born in the covenant. It would have made my life easier. The life I've chosen.
At least initially, yeah. What would I change? I just see that a lot of people come from much more substantial backgrounds, but I have no control over that. Yeah. But I see some of those people too, and in some ways, I think not having much makes you more aggressive and makes you more striving and more maybe more ambitious. So maybe that's okay. Can't change the past. Mm-mm. Can't change the past. You just have to think about what is now and what's in the future. So, I see on Family Search, I see some of these famous people, they got nothing on Family Search. But my dad has got a ton, and so does my mom. So, it's okay. It's not where you start, it's where you end up.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's a good summary. I'll give you the pat answer. We have no favorite child. We love all of you equally. It's sure nice to be in Arizona, though, and be with those kids 2 times, those 2 families more. I just wish I could live in California and Massachusetts and Utah and Arizona all at the same time.
It is interesting that, when we first moved here, everybody had extended families.
We didn't have anybody.
On Sunday, they'd all go off, and we noted the difference in the sense of community. The churches doesn't have the same sense of community here as it does in the mission field out where your family is not all close. And now we are one. Our social life, your social life is your family. I have many high school friends who
only have one child.
Or no children. And
so no grandchildren.
They are sadly lacking. They worry, about what I'm going to do when I get old. But it's more than that. It's, all the friends we have.
We have 28.
Yeah, these people are best friends. These people,
12 more.
Our family is our social life to a major extent.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize, certainly, I don't know, I didn't really... Not all your children were planned, for sure. And it's remarkable what has happened and how much happiness we get from all of you and watching the grandchildren. I'm not saying I always like to stand out in the sun at a soccer game, but still it's fun to watch, and that is really
Be there.
the
for
joy
them.
of life, you know. The family is the joy of life.
is.
There's really nothing that can quite compare or outrank that. Well, I have some foreboding about the future. I think your futures are going to be maybe more difficult,
More challenging.
more difficult. We grew up in a time which was certainly in our childhood
Simple.
genteel. People had the same values.
Even not members of the church.
Everybody was pretty much on the same page with family life. That's not the case today.
No.
There's more diversity, more division, more tribalism, more self-interest,
More animosity.
more
Anger.
more anger and conflict. And you're going to have to deal with that, and that makes your own family more important.
Absolutely.
Who was the biggest influence in my life? It has to be my parents, my dad, my mom. And you need to be the biggest influence in your kids' lives. Don't let other people raise them. Don't let other people teach them values. That's your job. And you may not initially get the reaction you want, but they won't forget it. And they may initially vary or stray from that, but I think in the end, if you have done your job, they'll come back to what you have taught them. Someone said that the greatest test of a parent is how the grandchildren turn out.
Yep.
So
I've heard that too.
just remember that. So,
It's kind of scary.
but I think all of you will make us proud.